The woman who called God El Roi, who will save her? Was this the end, or the beginning of something far greater? A woman abandoned, rejected, alone in a scorching wilderness, but washed by an unseen presence. This invokes curiosity and empathy, two of the most powerful retention triggers. Jealousy brews in the household. Hagar flees into the desert. Her strength fails, danger surrounds her. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. Imagine being used, betrayed, cast out, and left to die. Unwanted by people, unseen by society, forgotten by those who promised to care. That was Hagar's reality. Yet in her lowest moment, in the scorching desert with death looming over her and her child, she met God. Not just a God, but El Roi, the God who sees. Her encounter was brief, but it changed her life forever and gave the world one of the most powerful names ever spoken of God. This is not just a tale from Genesis. It is our story. The story of every person who has felt invisible, abandoned, or hopeless. And it is a revelation of the God who never looks away. Part 1. The servant girl who became a mother. Hagar's story begins not with her name, but with her status, a servant. An Egyptian woman, likely acquired during Abraham and Sarah's time in Egypt, Genesis 12. Hagar is property, not a person, in the eyes of her masters. She is called a maidservant, an outsider, a foreigner, someone with no voice in the promises God gave to Abraham. Sarah, impatient with God's promise to give them a child, offers Hagar to Abraham, saying, "Go, sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Genesis 16 verse 2. It was not a request, it was a command. Hagar had no choice. She was not asked if she wanted to be part of God's promise. She was used as a means to an end. Yet something incredible happens. Hagar conceives. In a culture where childbearing defined a woman's worth, Hagar goes from invisible to essential. She is now carrying the child of Abraham, the patriarch of promise. For a moment, it seems like she has risen in status. But with this new position comes jealousy and tension. Sarah, unable to bear her own child, grows bitter. The woman she once controlled now walks with confidence. Genesis 16 verse 4 says, "When Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress." And in verse 5, Sarah blames Abraham for the entire situation. His response, "She is your servant. Do with her as you see fit." Genesis 16 verse 6. In other words, not my problem. The abuse begins. Hagar, mistreated and suffering, runs away into the wilderness. Part 2. Encounter in the wilderness. The desert is vast and deadly. Pregnant and alone, Hagar flees toward Shur, likely attempting to return to Egypt. But death is near. She is without provision, without help, and with nowhere to go. Then, something miraculous happens. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert, and he said, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Genesis 16 verses 7 to 8. This is the first time in the Bible that an angel of the Lord appears, and he appears not to Abraham, not to Sarah, but to a runaway slave girl. And he knows her name. Let that sink in. God calls her by name. The world saw her as a slave, but God saw her heart, her pain, and her future. He doesn't just see where she is, he sees who she is. The angel commands her to return and submit. This might seem harsh, but it comes with a promise. "I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count." Genesis 16 verse 10. And then, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery." Genesis 16 verse 11. The name Ishmael means God hears. At this, Hagar gives God a name that no one else ever had. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. "You are the God who sees me," for she said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." Genesis 16 verse 13. God did not rescue her out of the wilderness right away, but he gave her a word, a name, and a promise that would sustain her. Part 3. A mother cast out again. Years pass. Ishmael grows. For 13 years, he is Abraham's only son. But then, Sarah, at age 90, miraculously gives birth to Isaac, the true child of promise. Tension returns. During a feast celebrating Isaac's weaning, Sarah sees Ishmael mocking or playing with Isaac. Her jealousy ignites. Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. Genesis 21 verse 10. Abraham is devastated. Ishmael is his son, his flesh. But God tells him, do not be so distressed. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring. Genesis 21 verses 12 to 13. So early the next morning, Abraham gives Hagar food and water and sends her away. Once again, Hagar is cast out, this time with her son. Part 4. The second wilderness and the second rescue. In the desert of Beersheba, the water runs out. Hagar, now overwhelmed, places Ishmael under a bush and walks away, saying, I cannot watch the boy die. She weeps. But heaven hears again. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. Genesis 21 verse 17. God opens her eyes, and she sees a well of water. Once again, God provides not just survival, but hope. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. Genesis 21 verse 20. Ishmael grows strong. Hagar finds him a wife from Egypt. And from him comes 12 sons, 12 rulers, and a great nation. Just as God had promised. Part 5. 6 life-changing lessons from Hagar's story. 1. God sees the forgotten. You may feel invisible to the world, but you are never invisible to God. Hagar wasn't a prophet, priest, or patriarch. She was a servant, a foreigner, and a woman with no power. And yet God saw her. He met her personally, by name, and called her back into his plan. Yellow circle. No matter who you are, where you've been, or how broken you feel, God sees you. 2. God's promises are bigger than our circumstances. Even in the chaos of Sarah's plan and the cruelty of her rejection, God had a plan for Hagar and Ishmael. Human betrayal doesn't cancel divine purpose. Yellow circle. When life seems unfair, trust that God's promises are not tied to our conditions. They are tied to his character. 3. God provides in the wilderness. Both times Hagar is cast into the desert, God meets her there. When everything is lost, God provides a spring of water, both physical and spiritual. Yellow circle. Your desert may feel endless, but God has a well waiting. He will never let your story end in despair. 4. God hears our cries. The name Ishmael means God hears. God didn't just see Hagar. He heard her pain and answered. In Genesis 21, it is Ishmael's cry that draws God's attention. Yellow circle. There is no tear you shed that God ignores. He hears even the cries you don't speak out loud. 5. You are more than what others call you. Sarah called her a slave. Abraham called her your servant. The world gave her no honor. But God called her by name and made her the mother of nations. This story will change the way you see spiritual warfare forever. Well, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep biblical mysteries and revelations.